I thought my camera was broken for days, or that I've reached the limitations of said camera. Um, I got off of work probably about 20 minutes ago. I'm at the Jordan Bridge now, and I thought I would shoot a video away from the man cave, for example. I've been up there quite a bit and I want to change it up a little bit. So I have two stories. I'll do one story per video here. And basically, I was showing a buddy at work. I was kind of teaching him a little bit what I knew, showing him the camera, the Nikon D5600, and I started running into low light issues. And I'd been running into somewhat low light issues for a couple days now, and I want you to try to figure out, those who know, see if you can figure out exactly what my problem is before I tell you. So I was outside. It would be noon, sun directly overhead, bright day, and everything I took was coming out very underexposed. So I'm trying to chase my dog around, my bright sunshine, my dog, golden retriever, a white golden retriever, so an English cream. Everything was showing up dark. I didn't know if the camera was broken. I don't know what it was, but looking at the light meter, middle gray, I believe it's called, trying to find that neutral position between under and overexposed and trying to find the right there, it was lining up perfectly. But when I lined it up perfectly, the image itself, the exposure was very dark. And I did this for a few days. I didn't change anything that I knew of. I didn't know. I just thought there's something wrong with the camera. Or there's something wrong with me, more likely, being new to this photography. So I spent a couple days. I was shooting inside the house, outside of the house, around the fire station, and showing my buddy. And I have the pictures, and I'll put them in. And even in the metadata, it was showing my mistake. So another clue. Fast forward, the difference between where I am and where I want to be. So brief history, it's on the channel already. But this camera, this Nikon D5600, was gifted to me by one of my good friends, and he's a photographer. He's a professional photographer. He has the D850, the Nikon D850. He knew I was getting into it, so he was like, "Well, here." So that story's been told on the channel. I think it's episode 2. So if not, I'll put a thumbnail on that, what episode it is. So fast forward, he's asking me how everything's going, and we start talking about photography, of course. And I work with him at the same fire station, same shift and everything. And I tell him, I said, I keep trying to take these pictures, but everything, even though I know the camera is showing that it's properly exposed, right down the middle, right at 0. But for some reason, everything is coming out darker, and I can't figure out why. Why is the camera lying to me, right? Well, the camera is not necessarily lying to me, and here's the solution. The camera, I don't know how it got hit, and what button got hit, and what setting got hit, but the exposure compensation was from 0.0, where it normally lives. All my metadata, going back for days now, seeing this underexposed compositions, there we go, nailed it, compensation. That's a lot. Well, I'm learning. Composition, everything was underexposed. And when he went in there, he knew it, like within 2 seconds, he went into the menu, hit the information button, went right into the menu, clicked 2 buttons, and then was back to normal. Took a picture, perfect. And as soon as he did it, I realized my mistake. I was from 0.0, where I was supposed to be, all the way down to negative 2.7, right? Almost 3 full stops. I was darkened down. So my understanding, if I'm at negative 1, that's half the light. I'm letting half the light in. So it doubles. If I was at 1.0, if the exposure compensation was positive 1, then I would double my light. If I was at negative 1, I'm half my light, right? So I was almost 3 full stops below, and that's why the camera wasn't lying to me. When I went to negative 2.7, I had to change my light meter to get to 0, to get right to where the camera thinks it should be. Well, I was telling the camera that I want it to be darker, or I want it to be brighter if it was positive. So I made the mistake. I don't know how it got there. Couldn't tell you. I'm diving into the settings and all that, and as soon as he said it, I instantly knew. Because even on action cameras, you have that exposure compensation. So I've heard people say exposure compensator, but everything I've looked up is exposure compensation. So I'm good now. But what I want to do in this video, since I'm here, and I'll shoot a second video about a different topic, something else I learned. I want to find a spot somewhere here at the Jordan Bridge and the Elizabeth River Park, and I want to go through and show you the difference. I want to put it. I didn't bring my tripod. It's the only thing I didn't bring. Busy day, swing into a different shift. Swing into a different station about halfway through my shift. So I grabbed everything up. I left the tripod actually at my house, but I do have a GorillaPod that I can mount somewhere. And I'm gonna take the same image, like same position, the best I can, and change it through the different stops. So from properly exposed or best I can to a negative or darker compensation to compensate it to a more positive, more brighter image. So why do we need these? Well, I know a little bit about it. From my research, if you are trying to set a mood, for example, you're trying to change the atmosphere of the exposure, for example, or snow, sandy beaches, bright days when you want to darken it down a little bit because it's too bright, or vice versa. You want to brighten it up, brighten your subject, whether they're backlit or they're in the shadows or something. So I'm not there yet. I'm still messing with just the exposure triangle before I go. And all it is changing. Well, I won't get into that. It's just changing overall. It does actually change your settings on your exposure triangle. So for example, it may mess with your ISO or your shutter speed if you're an aperture priority, for example, by messing with the EV. And that's what it's exposure value is why it's EV. I looked that up too. Why is it EV if it's EC, exposure compensation? So either way, it's your exposure value, and that's what it is, plus, minus, or neutral. So what I want to do is I want to go over here and I want to take the same image a few times and go through the different stops, and I'll label them what they are. So I'll start with evenly exposed, go down to negative, darken everything down, less light is being captured, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll go right back to the neutral position, the middle gray, and I'll go to the bright side, so positive side. I'll do that. But I tell you what, I was like, I didn't think I got really to the limitations, but I really thought the camera was broken. Trying to get the focus. I had to take my word for it. But we are right at middle gray. We're neutral on the light meter. It's right there. Can barely see it. Okay. So I'm going to take this picture. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to exposure compensation. I'm going to go down to where I was, negative 2.7. I have no idea how I did that, but I did it. Now the light meter, if you can see, let's see if I can zoom in again. Yep, a little bit. It's blurry, out of focus, but you can see that it's to the right. So it needs to, it's thinking it needs to be darkened down to get back to middle gray or zero on the light meter. So this is where I thought my camera was lying to me. So let's do that. I can't do it with while I'm holding this, so stand by. So even here, you can see my shutter speed is maxed out at 1/4000th of a second. I'm trying to let the least amount of light in. I'm as low as I can get ISO. My ISO is at 100. Can't go any lower than that. You can clearly see as I take this picture, and I couldn't even get it down to zero as far as my light meter, as far as being neutral. I could change the aperture, but just trying to show for an example. Clearly, shutter speed is way off. But you can see it's darkened down. So here's a perfect example. I was at negative what do you call it, negative 2.7, and didn't know why it was so dark. Well, that's why. Now as I go back up and I change my, oh, for fun, let's go down to negative 5. Well, it won't even matter because I won't even be able to attack that. I won't even be able to get that right. So clearly I would have to change my shutter speed's maxed out, and my light meter still needs to be darkened down quite a bit, right? So I'd have to start messing with the f-stop and the aperture. I'm not going to do that. So let's go back to 0, where it should be, or where it typically resides. Back to 0 on the EV, exposure compensation, or exposure value. And let's change the shutter speed back to where it needs to be. And we're back. We're back to a properly exposed image. Okay, so now let's go the other way, as my battery's about to die. Let's go to positive 2.7, which is going to tell it almost 3 stops. So 1 would be double the brightness, right? We're almost at 3 stops. Oops. Let's go here, hit OK. Return. Now it's showing it's quite a bit darker. So now it wants me to brighten it up. So you can either mess with the shutter speed, you can mess with the aperture, you can mess with the ISO. So just for this purpose, let's get the shutter speed back to a more realistic approach, and then I'll change the ISO as well. So now we're at a shutter speed of 1/250th, and the ISO is going from 100 to 125. Now I'll take the picture here. This is the EV of 2.7 positive. You can see all the blown highlights, right? And that's with the camera thinking, once again, that's the camera thinking that the light meter technology, this won't work, but that's the camera thinking that the technology is showing that it's properly exposed, even though I'm changing it. It knows what it needs to be as far as light meter, but I'm the one changing it with the exposure compensation. I've made the change, so it's not the camera's fault, it's my fault, unless it's done intentionally. This case, it was my fault.